Perhaps the most famous of romantic Mardi Gras stories that Orleanians tell is that one concerning the ghost dinners served each Shrove Tuesday night by a restaurant in Royal Street, when all the most delicious dishes for which the restaurant's cuisine is noted are served to empty places. It began a long time ago, when Mardi Gras balls were held in the French Opera House. One night at Comus, a young man from an eastern city paid no attention at all to the tableau being enacted, but instead stared the whole time at a lovely Creole girl seated on the opposite side of the balcony. At last she looked his way, and it seemed that once their gaze met she was as powerless to look away as was he. The young man smiled, and a flicker of a smile was returned. Then he rose, made some excuses to the friends he was with, and strolled out into the lobby. Later, he confessed that he did not know how he was so positive, but somehow he knew the girl would join him, and in a few minutes she walked quickly through the crimson portieres and stood just beyond them, her face very red, for it was a period when girls still blushed. The young man went swiftly to her side and said words he could never recall, except that among them was a suggestion that they leave together at once. The girl went with him obediently, without saying a word. But outside she said, "You have done a very wicked thing. You made me come against my will." "No," he said, "it was your fault." "I was with my fiancée," she said. "You have ruined my reputation." "If I've done that," he replied, "then I'll have to marry you, won't I? However, it might be an idea if we had supper first." So they went into the Royal Street restaurant. The young man told the waiter that love made him hungry, and they would have anything and everything that the waiter might suggest. And while the food piled up upon the table, the couple told each other their names, all about the past of each and what their future would be like. They sat there all night, talking and eating and drinking wine. In the morning they went together to the Ash Wednesday Mass at the St. Louis Cathedral, and then they were married quietly by one of the priests, and the young woman took her husband home to her frantic family, who had searched for her all night. A few days later the young man took his bride north, and neither of them ever saw Mardi Gras again, for before the summer was over, as always happens in such romantic tales, the girl died. Then came the most startling development of the story. A few days before the next Mardi Gras, the proprietor of the restaurant where the couple had spent the morning hours after that day a year ago received a check and a strange request through the mail. The widower asked the same table be decorated with flowers, and that the same food be served in the same way it had been when the couple sat there. This was done. The next year came, another letter, and another check, and they continued to come for more than 20 years after that each Mardi Gras time, and every year the owner of the restaurant complied with the request. Finally, one year came a letter from an attorney. The man who had been buying the ghost dinners had died, but he had left a bequest in his will of a large sum of money, which was paid for this annual commemoration of his love affair for as long as the restaurant remained in business. Many people believe this is only a fable, but it is a story they tell, and something of the kind must have occurred, for every Mardi Gras night, if you go to this restaurant, you'll see a waiter setting places for two. There are always flowers on the table and decorations in carnival colors. Then silently and seriously, a waiter slowly serves the fine foods and wines of the elaborate dinner for two. No one ever seems to remember the name of the couple, or they won't tell you if they do, but the ritual continues year after year. It has become one of the traditions of Mardi Gras.